always had our athletes. It would be a lot of tons of technique, Olympic lifting, volume work, right as the season started for CrossFit, and then as we moved into the new year, this was when everything was based off the Open being at the end of February. We would hit from basically like through the holidays. It would just be crazy volume, and that's twofold, like I was talking about earlier. One, we want people to be giants,
Right.
moving them into being as fast as they possibly can.
Right.
But the mental side of the high rep stuff and
Yeah.
just building that mental strength to get through those training sessions, which are just grueling at times. That was my favorite part of the year, because that's when you separate people.
That would separate me right there. I'd be like, yeah, I'll stick to powerlifting. But it's totally, there was I've read a couple of times where when people transition from bodybuilding to CrossFit and or powerlifting or weightlifting to CrossFit, a lot of times the bodybuilders actually do well because they spent so much time with the high reps. They're used to that, as you guys would say, pain cave.
Yeah.
Whereas a weightlifter's like, wait. No.
Hold up, I gotta sit down.
I gotta do it more than once.
Yeah, CrossFit's more of middle of the road strength sport, just like bodybuilding is kind of more of middle of the road strength sport. CrossFit's probably a little bit higher in bodybuilding in some cases because they have more heavy lifting as a part of the sport.
Right.
But not like weightlifting and powerlifting where everything's based on 1 rep max, and that's all that really matters.
Right.
They're all the way at the end of the continuum.
Right.
But they're, as opposed to the endurance athletes, the continuum for CrossFit is much closer to the weightlifter side than it is to like the triathlete side. So weightlifters tend to do fantastic in CrossFit for many reasons,
right.
compared to the endurance athletes.
Totally.
You were talking about muscular efficiency, getting better at the movement.
Yeah, totally.
When I think about that, I don't think about just exercise technique and just practicing and having kind of like finding the right groove, and all that stuff's definitely relevant. But then from more of like a physiological point of view, like your muscles are kind of structured like a ponytail, where each individual hair within the ponytail is a single muscle fiber.
Right.
So as far as efficiency is concerned, say the three of us are doing a tug of war, and like each one of us is counted as an individual muscle fiber. If we're doing tug of war and Travis starts pulling, and then Anders joins in 5 seconons later, and then I join in 5 seconds later,
just got beat.
We're gonna lose.
Yeah.
But if we all pull at the same time, then we're pulling maximum effort, maximum force right from the get-go. So it's kind of like that with your muscles as well. Your muscle fibers are going to be recruited according to how big they are.
Yeah.
The size principle of muscular contractions, you have the small muscle fibers start to contract first, mostly that's the slow switch fibers and whatnot, and then the bigger and bigger and bigger fibers follow. And how quickly those fibers are recruited, how much time between, getting the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, versus like you just recruit all of them essentially at the same time. It's really going to determine. It's really going to determine your rate of force development and how powerful you are.
If you want to try that while you're going to work, you can just make a fist, and you'll feel your fingers get really tight, and then you'll feel your forearms, and then sooner or later you'll feel it all the way up in your shoulders of how everything has to contract to
You
make.
tried to one-up him right there?
No,
I'm
jumping in on his ponytail.
Actually, along with that, there's one other piece where when your individual fibers contract, they only contract at max contraction. Right. They only contract 100% or nothing. But you have, I don't know what the actual numbers are, but say there's 1,000 of them. So if like 10 of them are contracting maximally, and then they rest, and then the next 10 are contracting maximally, and then they rest. Like your muscle fibers are just pulling, letting go, pulling, letting go, pulling, letting go, and that asynchronous contraction of all the muscle fibers kind of pulling and letting go, all at the same time accounts for a smooth contraction. So if you can, as far as efficiency goes, if you can minimize the time in between an individual single muscle fiber pulling and then resting and then pulling again, if that muscle fiber, these aren't real numbers, but like if that muscle fiber took 2 seconds to pull again, so it only contracted every 2 seconds versus every second or versus every half second or whatever it is, then again your rate of force development is going to go up, because now you have a larger percentage of your individual muscle fibers all pulling at the same time at all times.
If you want to see an example of what you're talking about, if you look at Wes Kitts, we've talked about him plenty of times, but I don't think there's an athlete out there who has a better rate of force development. He goes from 0 to 100. I remember when I first saw him up close. We were at Rogue. It was like a little camp that they put on for Team USA athletes. It was for the 2017 World Team, and I saw him when he snatched 170. Honestly, he went from being still. He was at full speed the second he started pulling. I'm like. And like he said, he looked at me. He's like, "What do you think I should go?" I'm like, "Without a doubt, 180. Like, it was like
some asinine number.
No,
like
I told, and he
200. Just do it.
No, I told him 180. I was like, I told him, I said, if you do anything else besides 180, you're a sissy. I didn't say sissy, but and he put on 180. That's the one and only time he snatched it so far. But you need to be snatching 180, man. But
let's go, Wes.
Rate of force development. Go watch, and then you'll understand what we're talking about. No other athlete demonstrates it more than him. That's why he's going to the Olympics this year.
Yeah.
His technique is it's good, but it's not perfect. There's a lot of his mobility is good, it's not perfect. His rate of force development is second to none.
When we were down in Jamaica watching the sprinters, those people are incredible at that too. They're not specifically in the weightlifting and have the timing of weightlifters and snatch and clean and jerk, but getting out of the blocks. We're standing on the blocks, and those teenagers take off, gone.
Yes.
It is so fast when they jump out of there. As soon as they hear the gun, their body's just ready to fire.
Rate of force development, nothing on earth athletically gets my heart pounding more than seeing an athlete be able to do something like that unlike everybody else. There's when you see Wes pull, there's something not normal about him. Like we were in Jamaica. There's something not normal about these people who are able to exert force that quickly and that forcefully. It's mind-blowing. It's what gets me going more than any. There's a lot of things. We can all argue who's the most athletic. I'm talking about that one quality of athleticism is my favorite to watch. It's just that person is not normal. It's like when somebody, has an extremely high vertical leap. It's just not normal. And they're the same people. They're able to exert that force.
Watching Wes lift at the one-ton challenge at the CrossFit Games was not just watching him lift and move those heavy ass weights as easily as he did, because he didn't even, he was hitting 85%. It was nothing.
He just
to
competed
him.
at the Pan
He won
Am Games.
gold at Pan Am's and flew overnight to just do the challenge. But when you see the CrossFit, Matt Frazier is a very, very strong human being.
Yeah.
He's the strongest person in CrossFit, and then when you have 3,000 people in the stands that only know Matt Frazier as the strongest, and then Wes shows up, and they go, that's what
not strong.
That's what the best in the world strong looks like.
Yeah.
It is so wild, and Wes is doing power jerks basically with 400 plus pounds over his head, and it's 430, and he's just dink, cool, and then he racks it on his back. He's not even dropping it, and you just go, oh my gosh! I remember looking up, and there was just walls of cameras of people's jaws just on the floor because he's so fast, so explosive, and the timing is just bam. But getting